Hello, everyone. Welcome to third session of Dev Elevate. Uh, with me, I have Tapas, the man uh, doesn't need an introduction. So, basically, just for starters, I can say Tapas is a content writer. He has been writing tech content, blogging from quite a long time. He has been working with open source and all of those stuff in the tech, helping the newbies, the junior devs like us, to expand their knowledge, gain knowledge, uh, uh, go to the next level. So yeah, I think it will be really great session. Many things will. I'm also going to learn many things from him. Hope so. Everyone also going to learn new things. So without wasting any time, let's start. Let's dig in. Tapas, bhai, let's go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Faizan, for giving that introduction. So, hey everyone, whoever watching this one or will be watching in future. So, today's session is all about the content formatting, and you know that we have a couple of sessions already developed before, where we covered various different aspects of it. So, what I thought is like it will be a good continuation if we talk about specifically the content formatting and why it is useful and how to do it right. So I will. I don't have proper PPT and all as such today, but I'll be going through a lot of working examples and maybe a few slides. But I'll be going through many of my articles, where I have done right, where I have done wrong, and things like that. And the entire thing may run for just 15-20 minutes. And I would be happy if there are any kind of questions coming on my way. I'd be happy to kind of answer them in between. All right. So with that, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to present my screen and just need a confirmation whether my screen is visible. Just a second. Is it visible? I guess it is.
Yes, it
All
is.
right. Okay. So what I'm going to do next is like I'm just going to bring my presentation over here. So present. Just a second over there, interface script mode. Yeah, so I hope that presentation is also kind of up and running. So what we're going to talk about is the content structure and let's make it right. So when we are actually writing a content, maybe a written content for an example, what is the first thing that is guaranteed for an end user to read, and what is that particular thing? If I have to ask, I think that most of you will tell is like the title of the article, right? And then maybe the description of the article, like what exactly this article meant for. So if you go to Google and search for, let's say, React hooks, there will be tons of things coming up as a search result, and you read the title, read the heading, a bit of summary of it, and then you decide, like, what exactly you are looking for and where you need to kind of dive in to start reading. So if you have the question like what's in a name, I will say there are lots of things in a name. So when you talk about content structure, the first thing that I look into is the title of the article. It is mean a lot to me because that's the entry point. That's the way that I can get my reader to read the first line of my article. If my reader is exiting from my title itself, it's a big loss for me. Okay, so let me take some example of what can be a bad way of formatting a title and other metadata, and what would be a good way of formatting a title and other metadata. So the screen that I'm showing right now, it's a way where you should not be doing things. For example, if you search things like dashboard, how to build a dashboard, and you are getting certain such result, and if the search result is shown in a way, learn how to build an interactive key cache dashboard using, you don't know until you kind of click it. If you even look into this particular URL over here, you don't know the slug, you don't know properly. Now you start reading the description of it. A dashboard is an essential, blah blah blah. In this article, you learn about what you don't know about it, right? So these are the things that your reader usually skip, and they look for completeness. That user experience, if you want to enhance for your blog, you have to make sure the title that you give is within the limitation that your Google search engine and the Google page is going to render properly. So now the same example, if I have to give for the right way, this is probably the right way. Same context, but I'm telling it much more better way. It says that build an interactive dashboard using Tailwind, CSS, and React. So I have cut down all those extra words from it. made the title very precise. So anybody come here, they will click here because they are looking for a dashboard using Tailwind CSS and React, and this is exactly telling the same thing. Even if you see the slug, it is very, very readable from here. Even if you see the description, it clearly says that learn how to use React and Tailwind CSS to build a dashboard. This article teaches you all steps to create a usable dashboard blog, right? So this is something that you need to keep in mind as a content creator, that you got to think about the title, you got to think about the meta description, you got to think about what is your URL slug, so that when the search engine goes through and represent the result, it works best for you, for your user and their user experience. Now, how do you do it? How do you make sure that it is in limit? How do you make sure that it is correct? So most of the blogging platform, including Showcase, if you are coming to Showcase and creating a show, they give you a field for SEO friendly title, SEO friendly meta description, where you can where they actually tell you the limit, that what is the limit that you can actually enter a title, what is the limit you can enter a description. If you go to other platform like Hashnode, anywhere, they do the similar kind of thing as well, because they want to guide the writer to do the right thing, right? Even then also you can still go wrong, but what I suggest is like use tools, use some external tools. So one of the very well-known tool is like called Google SERP snippet optimization tool. And with this tool, what you can do is like you can start entering your title, you can start entering the URL, you can start entering the description. And once you're done with that, it is going to generate the snippet that I just now showed in the previous slide. So with this, you can tweak your title, you can tweak your URL, you can tweak your description, and then for sure, like when this is kind of coming up in the Google search engine, it is going to be the perfect one, right? So the link to this particular tool will be in the description of this video. You can later and fetch it and kind of start using it. Must use, okay? So title part is gone. Now the next thing that you have to think about in formatting, though it is not very directly linked to formatting, but equally important to title, is the cover image. So for your article, try to get something meaningful cover image, like the cover image which might indicate that what exactly this particular article is about, what are you going to talk about. When I'm going to talk about the hierarchy and formatting a little bit more, I'm going to show a few example of the cover image, and how you can actually think about being so creative about thinking that like what is the best cover image that you can actually build for your article. All right. Okay. Next thing that I'm going to talk about is the hierarchy. But just before that, want to point out one thing. As a writer or as a content creator, even everyone, including myself, would like that most and more of the more people will come to my blog and they'll start reading. And I just said that title is the pathway for someone to come into your article and kind of start reading the rest of it. And to do that, many of the author I have seen, they try to make the title a bit clickbait, like people will definitely click, something like that. You can actually take a risk of doing that, but in my experience, what happened is like the more you use this clickbait kind of title, where you kind of say that okay, this is something that very encouraging, very interesting, but after coming to the article, the real article is not really talking about that. It is really not matching with the expectations. So at that particular point of time, your reader actually get really upset about it, and so you basically don't get that kind of credibility over the period of time. So make sure that you don't make it really very clickbait. Rather, make it which is like very genuine, very authentic, but using this kind of tool. All right. So next, I'm going to talk about hierarchy, and this is where I'm going to take a lot of examples of what exactly hierarchy means, and I'm going through some of the things from my own blog where I have done things right, I have not done things correct, and probably going to tell you the best thing that I feel in as for me, that how you can actually start doing. Okay. So I'm just exiting my slide for a moment. I'm going to bring my blog. This is my blog, blog, and you can see a bunch of articles over here. So I'll be talking about the formatting, but before I get to that, I want to touch base about the cover image that I was talking about. So how can you think about a good cover image? The way that I always think about cover image is like it should be related to something that your article is about, right? That is one way of going. So that's how I go basically. And for every author, this creativity is different, because we as a human being, we are very unique. Our creativity will be always unique. So if you see this one, like how to create an eyedropper tool using JavaScript, I am giving an eyedropper, just an eyedropper kind of image to indicate that this covered image is going, this particular article is going to talk about eyedropper. So this is my way of doing, but there are other author, and that is another great way of doing is like create certain kind of uniformity. For example, they use a similar kind of font, they use a similar kind of font size and a similar kind of structure for all their articles, for all their cover images, and that kind of brings certain kind of brand value. Like whenever somebody sees that particular article, they will immediately get, okay, this article is coming from this particular author. For example, I know Victoria, and I follow her articles, I follow her blog. She uses that kind of a particular format, font structure. You immediately connect, like, "Oh, this is coming from her." Like, so through this cover image you can actually talk a lot, you can establish your brand. I usually put my Twitter handle and small logo representing my first name and last name. So you can actually bring a lot of brand value using your cover image. Don't miss that opportunity. This is your scope, your space. You can actually do that. All right. Now let's get into some structuring part that I was talking about. Let's talk about this particular article for a moment. Okay, I just tried to get in, but it didn't come here. Let me see if I can bring it quick. Yeah, this is the one. Okay, so this article, the bad part is title. This title is a little bigger. You know, when I see that is coming in a Google search, it cuts this how. Okay, so it comes like here is dot dot dot. Okay, so this is a bad example of how the title was done, but the this particular meta description was in limit, so it appears correctly. Okay, now let's talk about the structure. How I generally think that you should make your reader go through your document, your article, or your content is like, you should give them the opportunity to figure out what they want to look into. Now people usually glance through the thing, and if it connects to them, then only they kind of get retained to that particular content, and they kind of start reading about it. Now you have to hook your readers, you have to hook your audience in that glance time. So how do you do this? One way of doing this is like give them a highlight what exactly they can expect from this particular article. So if it is a longer one, for example, this one where it's talking about how to build a portfolio, you give a kind of too long, don't read kind of section where you talk about the crisp part of this particular article. This is where the intention here is not that they won't be reading. Intention here is like after reading through these points, they will have that urge to read the rest of it, right? So you have to make sure that you do that thing over here. So in this TLDR section, you have to tell the best thing about what you're going to cover in this article, the gist of it, and reading that actually they are going to kind of go through and they'll be reading the rest of it. That's the hope that you should have. Sometimes people do it in a kind of introduction section. They call it as an introduction, and they introduce this particular topic, and then also kind of flow with that. That works too, right? So either way that you can actually go for it. And then
Sometimes
yes,
this TLDR stuff is really helpful for devs. If I land on a blog and if I see a
mm,
TLDR section which is like eye catching for me, then it's really good. I just complete all the blogs, so that's really helpful TLDR stuff.
yes, and that's what I was actually calling out. It's like TLDR, in my opinion, again, you should not be doing it for a very short article, right? It doesn't make sense. The
Yeah,
article is not long, so why should you do
yeah.
TLDR? But if if it is like a longer one, you should always make sure that you do the TLDR and things like that. That is good. Okay, so another thing that the next thing that I generally follow is like, which I used to do a mistake, is when you start a heading in your article, I usually start with H2, not H1. So in the the heading hierarchy, you have the H1 and then the subheading H2, H3, H4, like that. You can actually go right. So why I don't start with H1 in my article, because H1 is already taken by this my title, right? So I start with the second heading, and then if I need the further nesting, I go with H3, or H4 or whatever it is. That way I actually kind of proceed. So this is another tips that I can give. And whenever you are actually thinking about putting certain format in your article, what I mean by format is like, you sit and think about how are you conveying this information to somebody who is just sitting in front of you. will you just go and tell this story in a complete monologue? If you're telling the story to someone, that person might just get bored. Or you are going to kind of break this story down into multiple chunks and then deliver the chunks by chunk and try to figure out like how this chunk is delivered, whether the person has understood, and then go to the next chunk and kind of follow that. I feel the second one is much more relatable, and people, the again the reader retention is chances is much more higher. So I usually what I do is like I break my entire article content into multiple different sections, and each of the section I provide a heading. So this is, for example, a heading, which actually talking about what is a portfolio website and why do you need it, and I explain what it is. Then again, it's talking about my journey in 5 points. It gives some kind of highlight. Now, if you see, there is another section which is like a subheading of this one that is kind of appearing, right? Inside that, I am putting certain content over there. So this is how you can actually maintain a very decent hierarchy in your article, and it is very very easy from the user experience perspective for a reader to kind of perceive, for a reader to go through and to feel like, okay, they are probably understanding step by step this particular process. Also, another thing, as a reader, I feel this structure, why it is helpful. I feel how much I have read, I can remember. You may not be a reader who actually trying to read everything at once, right? You might be somebody who is reading maybe in chunks. It may be a step-by-step tutorial where you are following certain code and then doing something, and you have to take a break or you have to take a pause. Like until which particular section you have covered, and then you can actually come back. So if you think from that psychology, that perspective, the making the sections and creating the different kind of headings makes a lot of sense. So that is the other point. Then the next point would be like the usage of infographic. um, Now there is a debate, like whether it's a good, bad, or what is a thing. I'll put my points, right. In What I think is like the usage of infographic is definitely good if you don't overuse it. I have seen article and have written the article which is full of gifs. There will be like three line one gif, three line one gif, one three line and gif, and that's crazy. I don't want to write an article like that again, because I understood like when I go to an article and read about it, I don't feel so great about it. I feel that bunch of zip file and I miss those text, right? So and also even if it's not gif file, even if it are images, it's the same case. So when we are using infographic, we have to keep a balance of usage of infographic. Don't overdo it, but wherever you need to use it to convey that message, please use it, right? For example, here it is very directly call out the below image is a mind map. So it means that here is a use that I am making, knowingly. It is not that like whatever I have told with words, I am trying to depict the same thing with an image and putting it here. That will be a redundancy. So this is not redundancy. This is something that you really need it. So you are going to kind of put that. So this is something that you can think about the infographic part of it. Now, this way, once your content is going on, you might want to highlight certain thing in your content. Like you want your user, when user is glancing, like going through, you want that user to definitely kind of put their focus on and want to read. So you can quote something, put something, some kind of unique style, so that actually it catches their eye and they can actually start getting more used to it or read the things around that. So for example, if the content is a king, the user experience is the queen. So this is a quote, I don't know from where it came. So this is what I wanted to highlight, and it's kind of highlighted over there. Then another thing that we usually do is like different kind of embeds in the sense is like I want to embed a YouTube video, I want to embed tweets over there. So those are again the balance act that you need to make sure that you balance it out. You don't do overdo, based on your need, based on your article need. That is what you kind of start putting into your article. And at the end, once you kind of done with it, I always recommend. So here is one of the example, like how where you embed a tweet, right? You always leave with, if it is like you think that this is an article which can take the user to the next level, or you are planning to write something next or trying to do something next based on it, it's always good to kind of put like what's next or a conclusion. Because if you are writing a conclusion or a what's next, it gives the completeness in reader's mind. So when they finish reading it, or the summary, at the end of it, it can be in any form. they feel that okay, they have completed something. It gives a sense of accomplishment also. For a moment, if you just put yourself in the reader's shoe and reading an article which having a conclusion at the end or a summary at the end, you yourself feel like you have probably completed, and it helps you to recap the entire section again in a short span of time. So that is again, it's something that you might want to kind of do it. If you have used any images, any artifacts or anything from somewhere, you can do the credit in below section somewhere, like I have used this image from this and that. And of course you can always put your handles like where and all, that people can kind of find you, and that's the way you can actually in. So that's something that I feel it's working out well for me. And if you think for a moment, okay, why I am doing that, initially a TLDR, again a summary, conclusion, are not those extra text than the actual article content that I'm writing? Yes, those are extra text, but those are having in its own ROI. The ROI of retaining your user, the ROI of making your user getting into the content, the ROI of finding you on the social media. So all these things are great advantages than that you can spend by writing something extra time. All right, so this is about this content structure. Now, I feel that the knowing structure is fine, but you still need to write good content. And in the previous sessions, like where Maxi, Victoria, they have covered enough, I think, about how to write good content, what is the usage and things like that. I still want to cover a few tools which I use, and I feel like if whoever going through this video, if they kind of use those tools for their content creation, they might get hugely benefited. So let me just bring out some of these tools one by one, then we can actually talk about it. Okay, so the first tool that I have already showed over here was this snippet optimization tool, where you can actually start writing your title, start writing your URL description, and it's going to form like how exactly it will look like in the Google search result. So please use it. Okay, then if you want to think about like how your title should be, how can you write a better heading, headlines, you can think about using a tool called Free Headline Analyzer. It's a good tool. You can actually think about like whether this is something good for my article. Is this title really going to fit for my article? So you can actually analyze that, see the score, and then settle down like, okay, this works for you. So this is something that you can actually start using. Then of course people have probably spoken this to death. It's about Grammarly, and for any writer in the world, this is something go to, where it can immediately catch like what improvements to be done, how you can rephrase things, how you can rewrite things for clarity, where is your articles are missing, where your prepositions are missing, grammatical mistakes, spelling mistakes, all sort of things. So I would highly recommend, even if you can't take the premium plan, even the free plan works well. Then I feel this tool, the Hemingway, is little advanced, and it is even better because it gives the readability grade and things like that for our end user, how much readable is your content. So you can actually use this one. I use both of them for writing articles. I definitely use both of them for writing paid articles because I don't want to goof up there. So please make use of this one. Then you can take the assistance of this SEO writing assistant. This is another great one, where when you actually compose and write, it's going to give you the different kind of strategy where your engagement, your SEO for your articles can be improved a lot. All these links I'm going to share in the description of the video. And then this is another one that you can use, is called Copyscape, just to figure out like the content that you are writing, it is not already written by someone, and then you get into a trouble where people are coming and saying that you have plagiarized their content. And so what you can do is basically you just go ahead, give the link of the article, or wherever it is hosted, and then say, and then this is what I wanted to kind of show. I have given one of my blog and said just search over here. So if you see, like, it is really searching something. For example, this Let's Connect, I share my learning JavaScript. It's a regular thing I use in all of my blogs, most of my articles. So I use it on Free Code Camp, I use it on Open Replay, I use it on I know my tapasadhikary.com or somewhere. So you see this particular text is kind of repeated. Is finding out that this text is used somewhere else. But I don't worry much about it because I know that I'm using it intentionally and this is my text I'm using everywhere. So that's okay. Don't worry about that. Again, if you see this one, the JavaScript web page is powerful. This is there in this particular article. It is also there in tapasadhikary.com because maybe somewhere I have used this one, or this article I'm pulling from Hashnote to my own website. So this is appearing again. It's fine. It is mine. It's, it is not somebody's else. So I won't worry about much. But in case you figure out like it's matching with someone else content, how much percentage it is matching, what kind of match, that you can actually take those calls before getting into any kind of trouble. So this is definitely one more tool I would suggest, I would advise that you look into. And then what you do is over here is like you start writing your content. So at this time I'm going to take a pause and then want to see like if there's any questions or anything that I can actually take.
Thank you so much, Tapas. Those are really helpful tips and tricks. It will be really helpful for anyone who is getting started in writing this blogging and stuff. I think right now we don't have any questions, but I have a few questions of my own.
Yeah,
So
sure.
wanted to ask this, like, what's your process to if you want to write an article, what's your process, how you get started, how you get into it, where do you collect the data points, and how do you manage your article, where do you publish it, and those things.
Yeah, so it's a good question. So definitely there must be a process. Without that, we cannot really handle this. And I feel that the process comes, it develops over the time. It's not like from the first day you build a process and that might be something that you will be able to stick from the beginning. The process that I currently follow is like if I'm learning something, I want to, based on whatever my learning outcome, I want to write about it. So if I want to sit and write about it, I write in a scratchpad, and my scratchpad is Grammarly. So I go to Grammarly, I keep typing like whatever is coming in mind. I try to explain myself what is my understanding of the things that I have learned just now, and then I try to format it in a way that I told you, no, breaking into structure. I just
Yes.
try to break into different kind of structure, paragraphs, and things like that, and see like whether it is making sense or not. Is it like it's a good flow for someone to understand or not? How you can actually understand it's a good flow or not, for that you also have to read a lot. Once you read a
Mhm.
lot of things, once you read a lot of articles, maybe books and other authors writing, you actually know like what is good versus what is a bit boring, right? So once you read your piece also, you can actually qualify them. Is it something really, what is knocking that string in you? Are you really getting kicked
Yeah.
out of it? It's probably an inner feeling that I cannot explain taking it outside, but you can understand that this is the kick. Okay, this is something is probably going to, I'm feeling good about it. So once you feel that one, then that's your first satisfaction level. And then what you do is basically you try to see like, can I gather more information, can I get more information that I can actually fit into over this. And I don't do it in one sitting. There are multiple sitting that I try to do, because the longer that I sit on article, I face that I lose interest. I probably get distracted and things like that. So I'll be sitting on it for say 1 hour, and then we could do something else, and then come back and do for another couple of hours. And like that, I'll be completing my draft, the first draft. Once the first draft is done, it will be completely scanned through Grammarly, Hemingway, for the better readability and all this thing. And once that is done, then I try to discover what should be the title of my article. I never do it in the beginning, because when I tried, like, okay, I have a concept, like I am going to write about it. Let me first think about the title. And at the end, when I'm finished the article, the title has completely changed. The meaning of the title itself got changed. So then I realized it's not probably not good thing for me to kind of think about the title first. Let me just finish it off and then start thinking about the title. Then I go for the title, go for the description of the article, and then I start spending time on Canva or related stuff to make a cover image that completely relate to the article. And then I think about another round of proofreading, like just go through it and try to find out. Of course you use Grammarly, Hemingway, but what I feel is like sometime AI is also sometimes stupid because they are going to mess up few things, that you genuinely as a human being you want to put that touch in that sentence, but the AI would have changed it in much more way, which is kind of very boring, as a reader for you to read. So I recheck, like, whether I'm compromising on those cases or not. If not, I will be just going for publishing it, and just take this out. So this is the process that I follow. I would confess that I don't follow any proper time or thing start to kind of publish the article, like when is the right time to publish an article. For me, it's always a baggage. If the draft is ready, it's always itch me like let's take it out. So I immediately kind of try to publish it and try to get it out.
Do we should we follow a process of like proofreading an article from others? Is that helpful? What do you think about that?
It is always helpful. The challenge here is like to finding those others and
Yeah.
getting their time to proofread. Okay, so there are definitely few generous people, at least in my circle I have. If I kind of link them, I have trust that they will probably spend some time. If I give them a couple of days, they'll spend some time and read and give me thing. I also do for people whom I think they like to get constructive feedback. And but it's definitely a great thing because you get a reader's perspective well before your article is going live, and that is the great thing to do. And it's not necessary that you have to incorporate all those comments, right? You see like what exactly best you can incorporate to, and people who are giving comment is like they're giving comments constructively, so you please grant them and do it. It's definitely a good thing to do.
Awesome. So we have one question from Shiparno Roy. So he's asking, what are your favorite topics to write on?
Okay, so my favorite topics. Okay, on the technology side, it should be on the full stack side. Web development, about blogging itself, about career, um, JavaScript, to be very specific. Yeah, those are the areas that I love writing. Other thing that I love writing is about anything that I find very catchy and I learn immediately. Maybe it's not in my plan, but on the go, I'm finding it on Twitter, and this is something somebody is telling is good. So go read about it. I find it like it's very good thing to do. Do a small POC and then write an article about this one. So those are all like ad hoc. But if I have to do kind of plan writing, it will be on the web development, full stack, career, all the spaces.
Good, good, good. So Victoria Lowe asked this, like, what do you think is the ideal length, like, of an article should be?
Okay. When I write, I sometimes gone over 5 minutes read, and that's when I'm afraid. Okay. Yeah, it's a tricky question, and this question was asked multiple times by from different people in a different way. I'll tell what I personally feel. I feel that a content should not be limited by the word counts. Okay, unless until somebody is paying for those word counts. Okay, you will have certain publisher or for whom you're writing. They say that okay, I want 18 within 1800 word count, I want this article to be limited, and they pay you per word count. So it makes sense. But if you're writing for your own blog, or you're writing for say free code camp, um, you can actually go with open mind. Like you don't really restrict yourself to this particular lane, this many words and that many things. Why? Because you know when that thing comes into mind, no, it becomes a little bit challenging. Like am I communicating everything together in the article that I was supposed to communicate? One another aspect that I have seen is like when sometimes it becomes like too big. It's like as Victoria is telling, like 5 minutes read. Many of my article, Victoria, is 11 minutes read. Excuse me for that. You can actually just go and read about it, and some of them are got good amount of views, and the comments also, like people liked it. So it is a proof that even 16 minutes read is I have. So even it's a proof that people, if they find the article and it's like going to helpful for them, it is going to solve problem for them, they will definitely be stick to it and they'll be reading about it. There's no doubt about it. But of course there should be a limit. It cannot really go, it cannot become a book. then you should be publish it as a ebook, not on single article. Or you break the single article into multiple small articles and make a series, right? So those are the alternate options are there. But I feel that something which is like in terms of minutes, maybe 7 minutes, 8 minutes to the maximum of 10 minutes is a good one. Still a good one to kind of publish without worrying about like how many characters and whether I have to limit or not.
And maybe TLDR here will help everyone.
Exactly, great point. TLDR will definitely help because people will feel like, oh, do I have guts to kind of go through this 11 minutes article, or I'm
Yeah,
okay. I'll go back to something else. Yeah, thanks,
that's good.
Victoria.
I have
Yeah.
one last question, Tapas. So, as we know, accessibility is really important in this technology world. So, how do you structure your blog for screen readers or accessible people? What should we do over there?
Yeah, great question. So few things should come from the platform that you are actually having your blog on, right? And
Yeah.
if you're writing, if you're are a blogger who is building the platform from scratch and having your blog on that, you must have to take care of some of these accessibility points. But if you're using a platform, for example, using Showcase, using Hashnote, using Div or anything for the blogging, they will have the minimalistic thing that to support all this accessibility feature. But on top of that, you need to do few things that as a writer. For example, if you have an image, you make sure that you have an alt text also, because if sometimes the image is not getting loaded, right? You people know like what there is an image, it is not completely broken, there is particular text. Alternatively, if you're using a gif or a video or an image itself, you can also provide a link on the below the a particular image, saying that you can also view this particular thing from this link. So it is, even if the thing is kind of not getting loaded, people have an opportunity to click on that particular link, go and see the content that you intended for them to kind of read or see. So this is one accessibility aspect that I can actually think about. Another accessibility aspects is the structure itself, like how you do your, say, heading 1, heading 2, and then kind of get into different kind of heading structure. Don't go too much in depth. For example, don't go to heading 6, heading 5. It's too nested, right? It's something that if you have to really go beyond 3 heading, you have to think about maybe the bullet points. You have to think about like putting the bullet points instead of going for this headings, right? So because if you go too much nested, your user might get lost, like he is come inside that well and he doesn't know like how to kind of come out and where to kind of get connected to. Even if you have, what do you call that, Faizan, the TOC, like table of content at the top,
Table of
you think
content.
like how ugly that table of content would look like with till H6 is like this tree structure,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, so those are the things that I would say to avoid. Another thing would be like not maybe pure accessibility, but the readability is the how big your paragraphs are.
Mhm.
Don't make your paragraphs too big. Make short paragraphs, multiple paragraphs, because you give a breather to user. Again, from the reader psychology, if I can say, wherever a user see a blank space, the brain works in such a way that it relaxes for a moment so that it can consume the data that is coming next. The more text it sees at once, the brain gets crowded and let's look for the exit. Okay, so if you give the paragraphs which are like shorter but more number of paragraphs, people will see the space from one paragraph to another paragraph. The brain will work automatically, it will get the breather space to consume the next paragraph. It's a psychology. Yeah, I've learned it hard way by reading and all this thing. So try to use those things so you'll get more readability, more accessibility in your articles.
Awesome. We have another question from Victoria. She's saying, how do you manage your time between creating content, writing articles, and your many, many, many side projects, helping the open source community? Thank you for that. So, how do you manage your time?
Yeah, so yeah, time management is a is a hard part. One thing maybe that helps me a lot, this is a secret sauce, is like I repurpose a lot of content. Okay, I won't say that I take the A content of mine and go to another platform and then just publish as the B content. I don't do that. What I do, if I have written an article, I'll make sure that I have created a YouTube video or that article with a minimalistic changes possible. For example, how to do object destructuring. I have article. I have also have a video, but there's a little bit different. But the same code snippet are used between the YouTube and the article, right? So it means the content I'm creating, the thing that my thought process for the content creation is once. The code that I've written in the GitHub is once, but the mechanical work that I am doing for producing this content is multiple, and I can afford that as long as I have to burn certain weekends and tell my wife and kids, like, I'm busy. So so yeah, somehow that way, I can actually manage that, because I have a full-time job and I can only do all these things over weekends and after my office hour, right? How I'm doing this session right now. So that's the way I manage. But I like to do, I like teaching, so these are the avenues for me to kind of teach people, and that is why I'm passionate about doing it. So it's coming out of passion, that's what I can say.
Really, thank you for that. I mean, we are really grateful to have you over there teaching us, mentoring everyone. So I think that's pretty much it. No more questions. Really, thank you for your time, Tapas. Uh, do guys, do share this video, do subscribe to our showcase YouTube channel, and don't forget to write articles using the tips and tricks shared by Tapas and showcase. Thank you, everyone. So we have a next session on 29th of November, which is from Chris Bongers. He is from daily.dev. I mean, people, we have heard of him. So let's stay tuned for that. And thank you, everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you, thanks a lot.
That
Yeah,
was
thank you, bye bye, take care.